Hello, everybody. Welcome to Out of Character. I'm your host, Faulty Jam, and today we are answering some more questions from the My 30 Day World Challenge. Again, posted up by Tim Carney of Tabletop Terrace, and also a promotion by Absolute Tabletop for their Kickstarter going out, or Kickstarter that is out for A Dead Man's Guide to Dragongren. Link to both will be in the descriptions down below. We're going to go ahead and dive directly into the questions. So, the first question that we're going to be answering today is what faction in your world is feared and reviled? So, the faction that we're going to be talking about today is not necessarily one that, well, I guess the way I would describe it is that it is the singular faction that all seven races hate in particular. Um, it's important to note, though, that I feel like this question kind of lends itself to uh, like a nemesis of the world, like someone that good fights or conquers over, and that's not necessarily the case. Like I've said before, when I play games or create worlds, I don't do it with the intention that there is an evil, um, but that there is a middle ground, that there's a gray area, that there is a point to both sides. Even though one side might create more atrocities than the other, um, there is always a common ground, so to speak, that if you listen to what one side wants versus what the other wants, for the most part, they're both reasonable requests, and it's hard to find fault in either of those approaches. But the approaches are different. Now, with that all being said, the most feared and reviled of all the factions in all of Bellmar is probably the Regency. Now, I've already talked about the Immortal Emperor. He is a very famous figure, and I've also talked about the fact that he was murdered by the hero of the failed rebellion. Um, when he died, his empire fractured and splintered and pretty much dissolved itself. However, his arch generals all took a piece of the pie, and they call themselves the regents. Now, this is really important because they didn't take pieces of the empire and then uh, become dictators of those things in their own names. What they did is they all kind of formed a somewhat cohesive unit of regencies where they were each the regent. Now, this is where the conflict of the group comes in. They all agree that if a heir to the throne comes up, uh, meaning that, like, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that word, but if uh, uh, someone of the emperor's bloodline were to appear, they would cede their control over to that individual, and they would become arch generals once more. If for one reason or another the immortal emperor was truly immortal and reconstituted himself somehow, or came back from the dead, whatever have you, they would cede power back to him. They see themselves as a temporary stopgap for the eventual return of the empire. However, they are not necessarily a cohesive unit because they all see themselves as the true regent, meaning that each arch general sees themselves as the regent of the empire and sees the others as false regents of the empire. Now, trade between their kingdoms is possible because all of them use the imperial currency and all of them adhere to imperial law. However, depending on who you're with, you will be directly opposed to the units of the other faction, meaning that each regency or each regent within the regency actually opposes the other, goes to war with them. So all of the regents are particularly at war with each other, as well as being at war with everybody else. Now, the reason that they're so reviled by most of the other world is because for them, if you are not in a region, right, if you're not in a regency, you are a traitor to the empire. And by law, traitors are murdered and killed and sold into slavery. Now, if you are not a human, by imperial law, you have no rights unless you have paid for and bought those rights. You are nothing but you're pretty much trash, right? You can easily be kidnapped and sold into slavery or whatever have you because you are a subpar individual. Like you are below human beings. And so that makes the things that they are capable of doing and the things that they believe in doing towards others that are not a part of a regency worse than how they respond to one another. Although they will respect one another when they go to war, they will not respect uh, non humans and they will not respect who they deem as traitors. So that is the answer to that question. So the next question that we're going to be answering is the opposite. Who opposes evil and injustice in your world? And the answer to that question is nobody. Um, it's obviously not that simple, but like I said, there is no evil in this world. There is no good in this world. There is just those who think they are doing the right thing and those who know they are doing the wrong thing. Um, and if you think about it, for the most cases, everybody's a hero in their own story. It's very rare that you'll come across someone who is doing evil for evil's sake. Um, so, anyway, with that being said, it is the complete opposite um, of these guys. So, there are those who kind of worship the immortal emperor as a god, a hero of humankind, right? But there are also those who worship the hero um, as the Messiah or as the second coming of Salvia, the reincarnation of their goddess. And those individuals who follow in the hero's footsteps, um, they pretty much call themselves Salvia's chosen. Um, they're followers of the heroes of the hero himself. And they go out and they do what you would think they do. They're pretty much paladins, right? They fight evil where they think evil exists. Now, like I said, there is no evil in this world. So, what they perceive as evil is very individualistic. It's what you personally see as right or wrong. And because this is not necessarily like a governing body, they don't have like it's not like the regents, right? The regents are the leaders of kingdoms, right? They control sections of what used to be the empire and keep it running and keep the economy going. These individuals, Salvia's chosen, are almost like extremist in a way, where they have some form of doctrine that dictates to them what is good and what is evil. The regents being pretty high on the list, right? They make sure that any attempt to bring back the immortal emperor is defeated, um, so on and so forth. But again, they are extreme in their hatred towards the empire and all of his creations. So much so that for them, anything that the empire created is inherently evil. Meaning the magisters, evil. Slugs and launchers, evil. Magical technology, evil. All that stuff for them is evil, and a lot of people agree with them. They are looked upon favorably by the majority of the world, including non-humans specifically, because non-humans can use slug and launchers. That's the thing, but they can't use magisters. Magisters don't work with non-human physiology, and for the most part, they can't like fit into the cockpits for the most of them. Like pterodactyls could probably fit into the cockpit, but if you are a non-human, for whatever reason, the way that the machines are made does not work with their physiology, so they can't actually get into the magisters, and they can't get that advantage. And so, if a human group, a human collective, is going to go around and destroy all the emperor's technology, they're okay with that. And so they have a lot of support. They have a lot of backers. But again, there's no true organization to it. So you have a bunch of people who are calling themselves the chosen of Salvia who are going around and doing, again, what they think is good things, but for a lot of places are actually really heinous and horrible things. Like they will go through and slaughter a bunch of people who have these weapons. They will kill merchants who are selling slug and launchers. They'll do a lot of these extreme things because for them, if you're selling slug and launchers, you are perpetuating evil. You are spreading that evil to the rest of the world. And if I kill you now, I prevent the spread of this evil from going forward. Um, so that that's kind of how I see it. Like I said, there's never probably going to be a faction in this setting where it's just like we are the Templars and we're for the betterment of society and so on and so forth. You might see that within a certain kingdom, like each kingdom will have guards and things like that that are for the betterment of that society. However, they are not for the betterment of all society. They are not for the betterment of all beings in the world. They are just for the betterment of that particular thing. And when you are only for the betterment of a specific group of individuals, it comes at the cost of the betterment of everyone else. So it means that if I'm interested in the prosperity of my nation, I will gain that prosperity at the cost of other people's prosperity. It's not necessarily because you will go out to seek removing the prosperity of others. It goes into the idea that if I need drinking water and you have the drinking water, I have to take the drinking water from you if there's no other place for me to get it, because that's the best thing I can do for my people. Um, but anyway, that's just the way I think about it. It's possible that I'm wrong about it, but that's just the way I feel about it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Tell me who is what faction in your world is the most feared and reviled, and what faction in your world upholds good and fights for injustice and opposes evil. Or sorry, who opposes evil and injustice, not upholds injustice. Anyway, let me know your guys' things in the comments down below. Like I said, down in the description of this video will be a link to the Kickstarter and the My 30 Day World Challenge. I will see you guys later. Peace.